Hi everyone, this is Rowan here with Sandstone Care again, and today I'm here with Kelly Smyth-Dent, who is a private practice therapist here in the community. I'll let you introduce yourself quickly.
Awesome. So my name's Kelly Smyth-Dent. I'm a private practice therapist here in Denver, and two of my specialty areas that I typically focus on, one is the area of trauma, and I utilize EMDR therapy, mostly with trauma clients. And then the other half of my caseload are typically couples, working through marriage and relationship stuff.
Okay, so I know EMDR is a hot word these days, but I think a lot of people still don't know what it means. Could you give us just the 30-second, what is EMDR?
Yeah, so EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and it's an evidence.
When you can say it right, then
when you can say it right, that's why we just go with EMDR. It's just so much easier to just go EMDR. If you Google it, there's a ton of information online. It's an evidence-based therapy. It's been around for about 25 years. There's a lot of research specifically around PTSD to help with EMDR, but it works on the whole spectrum of trauma. So. It essentially helps us to kind of restabilize our nervous system, desensitize and reprocess the whatever trauma experience we've gone through, so that I call it our body hijacks us when we get triggered by our traumatic experience of any kind. It creates relationship problems and sometimes problems at work and other places. So it helps to soothe our system so that we can regain that control back and not get hijacked in those moments.
That makes sense. Yeah. I just spoke to Brennan Pruitt, who is one of our clinicians here at Sandstone Care, and he explained some more details about it. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that from Brennan, go check out that video. But thank you for that quick synopsis, because you can say it so much better than I can. I'm still trying to understand it.
Yeah.
And so you see people and you use this technique in your private practice, and my understanding is you also have a training coming up here where you do that with couples.
Yeah.
And that's a little different, because I think when I think of it, I think of an individual with a therapist and doing some eye movement stuff.
Yeah. Well, so you can do it with couples. There's essentially a group protocol that you can do with EMDR. And so I'm one of the few people in the United States that's trained in this group protocol for EMDR. It's a little bit newer, although we have some comparative studies and research done on it already. So it's showing that it's working the same as individual EMDR, except the beauty is that it makes it more accessible and affordable for people. We use it in natural disaster settings, man-made disaster settings, things like that. And then I'm also bringing it to Denver specifically for people that are recovering from a divorce, separation, or breakup, because most people experience that as a very emotionally traumatic experience, and it's just like heartbreak is such kind of a hard situation to recover from, and something that most people go through at some point. It affects our identity, it affects our sense of self and our self-worth and future relationships if we haven't fully processed that experience. So I'm bringing it to Denver on April 13th and 14th in the EMDR group setting to help people actually process and heal from their divorce, separation, or breakup, and not just learn more content, although that's helpful in those classes. There's something about actually experiencing internal change, which is what EMDR does, and then being able to do it at a very affordable price.
Cool. That's so cool that you're able to do that, and that becomes more accessible, because it seems like that's such a barrier for a lot of people, is the idea that it has to be this like ongoing curriculum of individual therapy, and all
and
of
it's
it is covered by
expensive.
insurance, and
it's really expensive, especially if your insurance doesn't cover it.
And so how does that look in a group versus doing it with an individual?
Yeah, so an individual, you're setting up specific targets that you're focusing on so that your brain knows what it's healing and what it's processing. I like to explain it like if you get a cut on your arm, your body knows how to heal it. All you have to do is kind of create the environment. It actually heals pretty quickly, and it knows the area in which it's focusing on healing. And our brains have the ability to do the exact same thing. So when I say targeting, it means that I'm setting up the environment for your brain to know exactly what it's healing. So for example, if you have a traumatic experience, let's say a divorce, separation, or breakup, if I tell you to close your eyes and run through a mental movie of that experience, if it's been at all traumatizing for you, it's going to start activating you emotionally. So most people can get pretty tearful or get angry or frustrated or upset in some way. All you have to do is mentally go back to that experience, and your body and your emotions are completely there and activated. That's how you set up the target. And then we go into the bilateral stimulation, which in a group setting, we use butterfly tapping. So people can do the bilateral stimulation on themselves. Whereas in an individual setting, I would do the eye movement with you like this. And I would be in control of that process. So it's also pretty empowering for people to take control of that process on their own, because it allows them to be more in tune with their bodies and what their body needs in those moments. So I love the group setting because it teaches you that attunement with yourself and empowers you to be able to create that healing on your own. And then in between EMDR sets, so we're not doing EMDR the whole time, we do EMDR, and then in between the sets we have different activities and grounding techniques and educational information that you're taking with you, and then we jump into more EMDR, so it's kind of in and out of that process.
So it sounds like the people who are part of this workshop are going to be able to walk away with a real skill set too that they can use for self-soothing.
Yeah, because oftentimes in divorce, separation, breakup processes, maybe you work with your ex-partner, maybe you have kids together, maybe you're going through court, maybe you still live together. I mean, there's just been a lot of really awful stories of people really stuck in their trauma experience. And so this opportunity not only allows you to start soothing and processing and healing from that traumatic incident, even if you're actively still in it, it still works based on the research. But it also gives you techniques that you can use at home in that environment to help soothe your system. When you get activated, triggered, see your partner, anticipate seeing your partner, something like that. There's a lot of fears, worries, anxieties that come along with that process as well. So we can also focus on future worries moving forward. So it really doesn't matter where you are in your breakup process. It's going to be useful for you because your brain knows what it needs to process, and it will target and focus on that. Whether you're 1 day out of your breakup or 10 years out of your breakup, your brain knows what it needs to do, and it will focus and target on that.
So do you get a lot of recently broken up couples in your workshops, or is it mostly individuals?
I usually don't get couples. Usually I get one person from the couple. Usually they don't want to be there together.
That makes sense.
But I have had one couple where the female came to the last workshop and the male's coming to this workshop. I don't know that they know. Well, I don't actually know that they even know. I guess they just both found out about it and came, which I thought was interesting. I just happened to know them. But and so I have that going on where people are, just processing. One story from the last workshop that I did was just to give people kind of a glimpse of what it can do for you, is that she was saying that she was noticing a lot of very somatic physical sensations and pains related to her breakup. So like nauseous, just like anxious, nervous, tense, like heart racing, just almost like wanting to vomit, just so heartbroken and upset and worried about the future. And she said that after the workshop, what she noticed was that level of distress was lessened. So although she was still in her grief process, it's not going to like automatically heal somebody out of their breakup grief process, because it's just not possible. But it lessened that degree of distress so that it felt more manageable and tolerable. Like she wasn't going to just cry at the drop of a hat. She could show up for work and move on with her day and wasn't completely like nauseous and overwhelmed by that process. So it makes it a lot more tolerable and manageable no matter where you are in your process.
Which seems huge for being able to cope with situations. And we're working with substance use and addiction a lot here, and a lot of times those are the triggers, is feeling completely overwhelmed by something completely unrelated to the substance use. And so having the tool to be able to just bring that down to a manageable level, where it doesn't feel as necessary to.
Absolutely. Well, you never know what's going to trigger you or when. You could be grocery shopping and a song comes on and your brain just gets activated. It could be a scent. It could be something, a tone, something somebody says. You just never, I mean, sometimes you can anticipate it maybe with like an anniversary of some kind or something like that, or if you know that you're going to see a certain person. But outside of that, we get triggered on a daily basis all the time unexpectedly, and we need to know what's happening and what to do in those moments to soothe our system and take that control back so we don't get hijacked.
Well, it sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of want to participate myself.
You should. You should. It's amazing.
How would people sign up for this?
Yeah, so they can reach out just on my website. My phone number, my email is there. They can sign up for the workshop on my website. We have a limited number of slots, so it's good to reserve your spot before they're all taken. But I am allowing people, if they want to register for $1, attend the workshop, and then if they're dissatisfied with their experience for whatever reason, which I don't anticipate, which is why I'm offering this opportunity for people, then they can request to not be charged the full amount. So essentially I'm letting people, it's super low risk, letting them try it out, and then they just pay me after if they feel satisfied with their experience and the results. We actually track the results throughout the experience so that they can see kind of how their emotions are moving throughout the 2-day process.
Cool. And we will have Kelly's website listed right below this, so you can go there and click on that and sign up for the course.
Awesome. Would love to see you there.
Thanks so much for
You're
coming in.
welcome. Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate learning about this. It's always fascinating.
Awesome. Thanks.